So, how to choose an egg donor agency? Whether you're a potential donor or a hopeful parent looking to start the egg donor process, this is probably one of the first questions you ask yourself. Stay tuned and we'll talk about how to do it. What's up? I'm Corlandos Scott, an assistant reproduction attorney in Los Angeles, and I work with egg donors and hopeful parents alike every day, helping them go through the donor process to grow their families through assisted reproduction. And we'll talk about today how exactly to choose an egg donor agency. We'll look at a few things. We'll talk about knowing what you need before you start looking. We'll explore what exactly you should find when you get there. And I'll walk you through my 2 methods to make sure you don't choose the wrong one. So make sure you stick around to the end. Let's jump right in. Listen, I'll probably sound like a broken record if you've seen any of my other videos, but absolutely the most important thing you can do is research. But there's a method to the madness. So let's talk about what exactly you should be looking for and what you should know before you start your search. There are a few things that make an egg donor agency top-notch. And before you think you found the agency, just know that when you're looking for the right one, these are the things that they need to have in order to even make your list of options. When you're exploring options, make sure that that agency provides you with constant updates. You don't want to be left in the dark about any parts of this process. Make sure there's complete transparency. And when I say transparency, I'm talking about with you and their processes, and also with everything included in their agency agreements. It's also great if you can make sure that you have a dedicated case manager for your specific donor journey. Many times, agencies will have a number of employees who serve as what we call case managers, and they each take on a number of intended parents and donors, and they manage that specific journey. So you want to make sure you have that one point of contact that you can reach out to at any time and find out exactly what's going on in your egg donation journey. Now listen, I'm definitely not against small operations or even what some people refer to as mom and pop shops. Just because the operation is small doesn't mean they're not professional. But what you want to make sure of is that they're at least a team to make sure they can answer your questions. Now, maybe that is not a team of 30, maybe it's a team of 2 or 3, or maybe even 1, but make sure that they're open and receptive to all of your calls, questions, and emails. It should go without saying, but you want to make sure that the staff is friendly and approachable. Egg donation, assisted reproduction, it's such a personal issue that you don't want to run into any kind of rudeness or unprofessional people in your journey to grow your family. So personalities go a long way, and leadership is reflected at all stages of an organization. So if you run into a rude receptionist, you may want to just let your antennas go up and make sure that it stops there and doesn't flow into the rest of the operation. Last but not least, you want to make sure that the agency has reasonable fees. No, all agencies aren't created the same, so you may have one donor agency that charges one thing and another donor agency that charges another. Some agencies specialize in certain types of donors, whereas other agencies are more general in their approach to their database of donors. However, you want to make sure that you explore enough options so that you can begin to see the trends as to what the donor process costs across the board. So don't expect one size fits all when it comes to price. You often get what you pay for, so make sure you do enough research to know what's reasonable and what's an average cost across the board. I know you've probably heard of an egg donor arrangement going wrong or an agency wronging a set of intended parents, and you wonder, well, what happened? Well, there's usually 3 culprits whenever there's a breakdown in an agency relationship with a set of parents. Number 1 is usually communication. The last thing you want is to be left in the dark where it concerns the process. You want to make sure you're aware of everything that's going on as far as appointments, the legal process, the medical process, the timeline, everything that's going on. Even travel, if your donor has to travel from one location to another to visit the clinic. So you want to make sure that the communication lines are wide open and fast. Another pitfall in arrangements gone wrong is unmet expectations. You want to be extremely clear on exactly what you're getting from the agency. That should be included in your agency retainer agreement or the service contract that you sign on to when you first hire an agency to find you a donor. So make sure that you know exactly what to expect from them and that each of those expectations are met. And the last thing you want to make sure that you look out for are any vague terms in your agreement. Now, again, you're going to sign an agreement with the agency before they get to work for you. Just make sure you understand everything. Yeah, I know a lot of it is legalese, but make sure if it doesn't make sense, you make someone explain it to you. That's something that I also encourage whenever you're going through the process. It sounds self-serving, but I'll say it. Hire your attorney first. Why do I say that? Because throughout the process, you're going to be signing up for a lot of different services. You'll probably have that agency agreement. You'll have some consent forms at the clinic, and you want to make sure that if you're already going to have to pay an attorney for the process anyway, make them earn that money. Make them review those agency agreements with you. Make them check out those consent forms. That will go a long way in giving you not only the best chance for a good outcome, but also peace of mind. And let's be honest, you can't put a price on peace of mind. Speaking of lawyers and assisted reproduction, if you're watching this video and you're looking for a lawyer and you're trying to figure out, well, what do I need? Make sure you go back and check out my video, What Type of Lawyer Do I Need for Surrogacy? Now, I know the title says, What Type of Lawyer Do I Need for Surrogacy? But I guarantee you'll find some tips on the type of attorney you need for egg donation. So you know what? Go ahead and subscribe below. Go ahead, click the button, and while you're at it, click the little bell beside it. That will give you alerts whenever I drop a new video so you won't miss a thing. Okay, you've started your research and you've landed on some different websites, and now you want to know, is this the right agency for me? So let's talk about what you should find when you approach that agency, whether it's on the phone or through the internet or in, I don't know, I guess you couldn't find them in the Yellow Pages. Do people really use the Yellow Pages anymore? Okay, so you think you found that agency, you started your search, and now you want to know, is this the right one? Well, let's look at what you should find when you engage that agency, whether it's online or via telephone or even walking into their office. Now, this is one of the things that I have mixed feelings on. I like to see that an agency has a professional looking website. That's definitely a sign that they may have their act together. But beware, there are so many brilliant marketing people in the world that a shiny website doesn't necessarily equate to great service or experience. So yes, make sure that the website is informative and that you can find the information you need. But I wouldn't let the website be the end-all be-all as to whether this is the right agency for you. One of my favorite sources in doing your research is getting reviews. You can sometimes find reviews online like Google or Facebook or Yelp, but you can also find reviews in forums. There are communities of people engaged and interested in assisted reproduction, from surrogacy to sperm donation and egg donation. So oftentimes you can find these Facebook groups or forums that talk about their experiences with their agencies. If that's something that you're interested in, make sure that you check out those forums. That can go a long way in providing you first-hand information about individuals who have worked with an agency, and they can tell you their experience with the agency. You also want to make sure that the staff is knowledgeable. And not only knowledgeable, but willing to share that knowledge with you. When you begin to engage with an agency and discover whether they're right for you, you want to make sure that your questions are being answered and that the people who are supposed to be able to answer those questions can actually answer them. Now, every person and every agency doesn't know everything there is to know about egg donation or your specific situation. So if they say they need to do some research or get back to you, that's not necessarily a red flag. But if you run into people who are supposed to be helping you with the process and they can't answer the simplest of questions, you may want to start thinking again about if this is the right agency for you. You also want to check the business's background. Now, this is more of an issue with Yelp or things like the Better Business Bureau, and I understand that not every business is signed up with these services, so you may not be able to get far with an internet search, but as much as possible, you can definitely check the Secretary of State to make sure that they're actually registered as a legal business entity and other things like that. But make sure you check the background of not only the business, but maybe some of the professionals. Oftentimes, you'd be surprised at what a quick Google search can do when you search for the director of a company or for the owner of a company. And one of the things that I found in my research of donor agencies is sometimes there's no information about any of the humans behind the operation on the website. So you'll click the link that says About Us, and it'll give you a broad paragraph about how we love to help people. Well, that's nice, but I'd love to see an actual human behind the business. Again, egg donation arrangements and egg donation companies aren't these gigantic behemoths of businesses. So there should be some type of personality to it. We're not talking Fortune 500 companies here. We're talking smaller companies that are set up for the sole purpose of helping people get through the donor process. And I should be able to put a face with the name of the agency. So if all these things check out and you think you found the right one, the next step would be schedule a meeting. You actually want to either get on the phone, get on a video conference, or visit the office of these agencies and see if they can help you. Don't be ashamed to ask what could be embarrassing questions or silly or dumb questions as some people think. There really are no dumb questions because, let's be honest, none of us were born with the knowledge of assisted reproduction. So I imagine that it may be your first time undertaking this process. Make them show you the way. Have them answer all of your questions and make sure you're comfortable with them before you sign on that dotted line. Now let's talk about my frameworks for choosing the right agency. I think if you can use these short little anecdotes, they'll take you a long way in finding a good agency. The first thing I want to tell you about is the ASK method. A-S-K. That's easy enough to remember, right? The A stands for availability. They're available to you. You can reach out to them and schedule a consultation. You definitely don't want an agency that's never around for you or never takes your calls. So you have to ask yourself, am I always sent to voicemail? Well, that's not necessarily bad that you have to leave a message a few times, but do I get a prompt returned call? Are my messages and emails answered in a timely fashion? And do I get the answers to the questions that I ask in a timely manner? That's the A. You want them to have availability. Next, we look at the S, success rates. You can often tell a lot about an agency by the results they've been able to achieve for other recipients or intended parents. So ask them about former journeys. You don't necessarily need to get the identifying information about any of their clients, but they can at least tell you how many successful journeys they've had, how often their donors make it through the medical and psychological screening process, how many of them result in pregnancies and live births. You want to make sure that you're working with an agency that's done this before. This isn't their first rodeo. So make sure that there is some form of success rate that they can report to you. Lastly, it's the K in ask. Make sure that your agency, this potential agency rather, is knowledgeable. You want to make sure that they're up on the current trends in assisted reproductive technologies. Make sure that they're at least members to some of the professional organizations in the industry like ASRM, the American Society for Reproductive Medicine. Make sure that they're at least keeping up on some of the trends and that they're following the ethical guidelines. Make sure that when you engage them that they're knowledgeable about their craft. So now that we've talked about my ask method, the last thing I want to leave you with is the red flag method. That's right, R-E-D. Another easy thing to remember here. The R in red is reviews. We've talked about it briefly, but make sure you can find some type of reviews. Now, I wouldn't let reviews be the end-all, be-all of everything, but it at least gives you something to go on as far as what other people think about this agency that you're looking at. The E is evasiveness. Do they evade or give you vague answers to the questions you ask? Are they vague about the terms of their agreement and the terms of their service? If they're ever evasive, just know you've run into the E in red flags. The D in red is distant. I also call this ghost town. You know that feeling when things are a little too quiet? Like, you told me you had this big team, but I'm not getting any updates and I'm not hearing anything from anybody. You know, I always picture the Wild West and the little tumbleweed rolling down the street. You're thinking, where is everybody? If they're distant, if there's a ghost town, you've just run into the D of the red flags. So keep these things in mind, and it's an easy way to remember what to look out for when you're choosing the right donor agency for you. If you're looking into donor agencies, you may also be looking into the surrogacy process. If that's you, I've got something special for you. I call it the Surrogacy Roadmap, and it's a tool that I built for you just so you can know exactly how to navigate the surrogacy process from beginning to end. If you click the link below, I'll give you free access to the Surrogacy Roadmap. In it, I'll walk you through all the steps from dream to delivery. So click the link below and get your free copy.